Welcome to Too Old and Too Slow, and in this episode I start working on the bodywork to make it fit and do all the plumbing to make sure the engine can start as soon as I take it up to Marks. So I'm back in the workshop. I've been away for a few days. I was in Los Angeles and then over to Vancouver, and now I'm back in the workshop. I've had a productive afternoon. The first thing I really got stuck into was the bodywork. So let's see how I went about cutting a hole in the bodywork for the air filter. It's not a particularly enjoyable or satisfying job to cut the hole in the bodywork for the air filter. It takes a lot of trial and error, lots of going back, fitting it on the car, coming back and making sure it fits correctly. But eventually I got it in a position where it fits and I'm satisfied with it. So here it is, finished. Pretty pleased with that, but the problem is I've got a massive opening on this side because it was a Formula Ford 2000 and that had the oil filter on the other side. So the plan is I've got some of this mesh and I'm going to cover that up with mesh. I did attach it probably with some glue and attach that onto the underside, glue it in, and that at least covers that up. But it does fit just about on the car now, but there are a few other issues. So just to pause briefly the video, what I want to say is thank you those who subscribe. And if you don't subscribe, please think about subscribing. It really helps me get on with this build, grows the channel, and I'm moving slowly towards monetization, which means I'll be able to get some small pennies for all the hard work I put in. Huge thanks to Shaws Motorsport, Mark Bates particularly, who is a constant source of help and reassurance. So huge thanks to him. And he'll feature, I think, in the videos towards the end of this series because I'm going to have to go up to his workshop just to finish off a few last bits and pieces up there. So don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Everyone who subscribes, it just makes my life a little bit better. And every time someone subscribes, it makes me smile. So thank you. Right, today's activities are quite straightforward. Limited in their scope, but quite straightforward. So let's have a look about what the major problems I've got to deal with today are. So the engine is sat very high on that block of wood. And what I want to do is lower it so that goes here. So I've got to move the engine that way and down an inch and get it sat at the correct height. So I've got to lift the engine up, put a smaller block of wood underneath there to lower it down, and then try and get those bolts in position. And that will allow me in turn to look at the position of the gear shift. So the gear shift goes out here onto the gearbox here. So I need to align that correctly. So that's the major point of today. I'm starting to build up the oil system is coming. I just need a couple more fittings because these are slightly different sizes. They're larger. So I need to get the right fittings in there. All the wiring's done and this all checks and works. And today I've got this welded. So that was welded on by a local company who are amazing. He dropped it into him. He did it in about 10 minutes. So that's good. I just need to adjust the length by chopping it off down there. There's lots of subtle movements of the engine. I need to get it exactly right to a few millimeters to make it sit in the chassis correctly. And it has to move up and down, left and right, and also be orientated correctly. It's very hard to do on your own, and there's lots of blocks of wood being involved and lots of levering and maneuvering. But eventually I get the engine just about
where it needs to be.
Continuing in the theme of one step forward and two steps back, I've taken off the rear suspension again to try and get the gearbox to sit tight up against its mounts. So just here we've got bolts which bolt the gearbox to the chassis. The problem is that just here, I'll try and get some light on it, and just here, just here the gearbox is right on the chassis, so we're kind of stuck. That's about as tight as it can go, so I'm going to have to just tighten up as much as I can, and then tomorrow I'm going to build up the rear suspension, both sides, and get it done. But today was definitely one step back, and the engine is suspended on blocks of wood, which isn't great, but it is what it is. So that's the end of another day, or another couple of hours of wrestling the engine into position. It's not great, but it's about as good as it's going to get. Look at the steering wheel, it looks amazing. I think I'm going to have to shorten it a wee bit, but all that's done, so everything's getting there slowly. But today definitely was one step backwards, definitely not one step forward, but I understand the suspension a bit better now, so I'm going to have to have another bash at getting it all attached tomorrow. So that's me done for the day. Well, yesterday was a really tough day. It's really started to dawn on me that I've got a serious lack of time to get this car ready for Snetterton. Effectively, I had to take the engine out, move it around, put it back in again. But I've come back renewed. I've got 3 hours to work this afternoon on the car, but time's looking tough. I'm going to have to really get stuck in, focus. I'm going to have to, every day I'm not flying, I need to be working on the car. I've got a month and I'm a long way off. It's going to be a miracle if I can get this car out at Snetterton. So I've got a rollover valve for the fuel system, so if the car does turn upside down, the fuel won't come out of the breather pipe, which is good. I've put an earth wire on the engine just to make sure that's fully earthed, and now I'm starting to work out the plumbing for the oil system. Still working out where I'm going to put the remote oil filter housing, so I don't know where that's going to go, but some of these fittings aren't AN10s and some are, so it's a mixture of fittings. So that's I'm going to have to measure and probably buy some more pipes. So I'm working on the oil system. Looking at the size of the fittings on the oil pump, and some of the fittings are AN10, and I have plenty of AN10 fittings, but others are a BSP size. So I'm going to have to go online, find the correct fittings for that and order them, but they should be arriving in a few days. Another important job that needs to be done is fitting the gear shift mechanism. It's really tight in there. The run of the linkage goes through a bulkhead which is close to the fuel tank, and also the chassis seems to snag it the whole way through. But with plenty of measuring and a little bit of a judgment call and a few guesses, I can just about get the linkage in its position. Unfortunately, in the powder coating process, part of the mechanism for the gear shift itself was all gummed up with powder coat, so I had to strip it down, add a load of WD-40 and a little bit of heat to free everything up, but eventually it's pretty much where it needs to be. So the engine is now in and the rear suspension's on. Primarily, most of it's on. I do need to tidy up this with a wire brush, so that's another job to do. Yeah, suspension's on. I need to work on the throttle cable, so that's not on. but I need to do with that. Someone mentioned fuel pump. Yeah, I do need to look at that. Fuel system is plumbed in. Gear linkage is in. I had to drill some holes and it goes through there. Of course, the mounting bracket for the gear shift is exactly where the plumbing lands for the cooling system. So that's all in. That needed more tidying up than I wanted to, and it's outside being cleaned, being sprayed up because it's a bit grubby with the manipulation I had to do with it. Some of the paint came off, so I had to repaint that. Steering wheel's in. Looks like a drag car, doesn't it? Electrical system's all done. Look at this. I'm going to turn it on. Yay! So I'm really pleased with that. That's in. Brakes at the front are basically on, with the exception of the rear brake. I need to work on that. Yeah, I'm going to run that probably down the left hand, maybe run it down the left hand side. So I need to do the rear brake at some point. Front suspension, that's, yeah, I need to get some parts made, and hopefully Mark will help me get those made and sourced. The brake and clutch line are in, and oil system I need to work on, but all in all a good week, so I can't really complain. Yeah, the rear brakes are in pretty much. I need to work with that a little bit and connect them up, but there's some parts are needed, so actually getting there slowly. Next time I'm back, I want to do the wiring. I need to wire up the engine. So the starter motor should be on its way. Actually, starter motor's been ordered and it's on its way. So starter motor should be here, and that will allow me to finish off the wiring. Once that's done, we're there, and then it's just oil system, some parts coming. But the major problem is front suspension. I need to get some parts made. Front suspension is going to be a problem, and engine mounting is a problem as well. So it's on blocks of wood at the moment, but it's progress. So that's it for another week. First of all, I'd say thank you very much for everyone who leaves comments. I'm going to be sending out some t-shirts to a few people. Really appreciate everybody's comments and advice, even if it's critical. I don't care. I just happy to engage with people and learn, learn and grow, because God, I am not an engineer, as you can see from the slow progress. It takes me hours to do the simplest tasks, but I'm slowly moving forward. So thank you everyone who sends me comments and advice. Thank you for everybody who subscribes. If you're new, please think about subscribing. It does make a huge difference to me. And on the screen now, you can see a button to press, which will help you subscribe, and a button where you can access the full series for the Red Royale rebuild. So from me, in my workshop, thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.